Hello, and welcome to another episode of the HCP podcast, where we help healthcare professionals thrive rather than just survive. Today, I'm really excited. We are joined by Frankie and Anuj from PAX Scrubs. I'd love to hear more about how they manage their own health and fitness around both working as a healthcare professionals, but also around managing a business as well. And we'll get into it. So, Frankie and Anuj, thanks for joining me today. And how are you doing?
Great. Thank you so much for having us on. It's really a pleasure to be here, and hopefully we can give you some good insights about what we do. I'm now scrambling. I'm like, I think I'm healthy into it, but yeah, we'll see.
No, thanks for having us on, Tom. I appreciate it. But it's good. I think Frankie's probably a better example of fitness than I am.
We'll find out. We'll get into it in a minute. So I guess what we're going to do is actually, if you guys could maybe give the audience an insight or an intro into PAX Scrubs as well, and tell them more about that too.
Yeah. Do you want me? I'll go for it. All right. So PAX Scrubs is founded by myself and my other co-founder Moise, and we were later joined by Anuj about 6 months into when we actually got going. Although the business had been up and registered for about a year before that. PAX Scrubs is a UK-based scrubs brand, as Tom said. We basically have the ethos that scrubs are an important part of our lives. They're the foundation block of our lives as healthcare professionals, and really it's the foundation block for building a big life inside medicine, but also outside medicine. We place a big priority just in our own personal lives in looking after ourselves and doing things that make us happy outside of work as much as we enjoy doing that job. And I think we've tried to basically create a uniform for those sorts of people. I think there's a lot of doom and gloom in the NHS sometimes, and we tried to give a bit more of a real insight into, being a doctor and being a healthcare professional in the NHS in this day and age.
Bro, yeah.
Mic drop. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good summary. I think, to be fair, I think that really reflects what I've seen of you guys on social media as well, in terms of like just the content you produce. It's like, yes, there's the people wearing scrubs looking really sharp, but also it's also content that's just real life insight into your guys' work lives and that side of things too. It's not sort of just glossing over and be like, oh, look at us, like perfect influencers doing these amazing things about scrubs. And, it's like, no, i.e. takeaways and all that sort of stuff too. So, yeah, I think great insight. And also actually it'd be great to kind of hear more about just you guys too and your own individual stages of healthcare careers as well.
Yeah, so I finished foundation training a couple of years ago. I've basically not decided to go down the traditional training route. So I'm currently like starting F5, I'd say. And I'm kind of just keeping my options open at the minute. Obviously with the business as well, it's nice to not have on-call commitments, weekend commitments, because, it gives us more flexibility on the business side of things. So that's kind of where I'm at. Options are open. I don't know whether I'll still be in the NHS, this time next year, but we'll see. I'm not closing any doors. So that's kind of where I'm at from a career perspective.
And Frankie?
Yeah, so I've taken quite a windy route through medicine. So I did my foundation program here in Leicester, and that's how I actually met Anuj. I have always been quite research inclined, so through that I set up a study looking at celiac disease in individuals with bone fractures, and through doing a bit of research, which is that study's actually coming to a close, and I've got a big paper that I need to write at some point. But through that, I ended up, after completing my foundation program and then taking a bit of time out training, I ended up securing a post at the University of Leicester to study for an MD/PhD if I decide to extend for an extra year. During that period as well, I also set up a nightlife brand fundraising for the charity Mind, which I did for about a year and a half. And that just involved me and my friends basically DJing and cycling and stuff like that to try and fundraise. And that was a bit of a non-profit thing, which ultimately led on to this and other bits and pieces. I've done leadership roles as well, and held regional leadership roles looking at sort of how robotic surgery has been implemented within the Midlands and stuff like that. So quite a weird and varied career path. I've basically always been working 2 or 3 jobs, and PAX has just been the latest evolution in that, really.
Bro, yeah, really cool. But I think it's really interesting for people to hear and see like the broad range of kind of healthcare careers, and maybe I think maybe now the options are even greater than they ever have been in terms of how they can grow and digress. And I often speak to people and they'll sort of kind of like you guys described there, I feel like, oh, I feel like I've had a really winding route, but actually a lot of people speak to are also on their own winding route, and actually it's kind of normal nowadays, I think, to have that and not be in just a a classic straight line pipeline. I think it's probably fewer and far between, more so than ever now. But cool. Well, thanks for the intros. What we'll do is we'll jump straight to the quickfire segment. Let's see if you can set the record for quickfire. It's not been that quickfire so far. And then we'll dive into some of the health and fitness stuff after that. So question number 1 is, what's your must-have work snack?
Must-have work snack. Oh, God. All right, coffee. Does that count?
I mean, it can
It has to count. It has to
If
be.
you don't have a physical snack, then coffee can be...
No, it's coffee.
Baby Bell.
Baby Bell. That's a great shout.
Baby Bell is the one.
We used to smash Baby Bells at work.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good shout. Yeah. From a health and fitness perspective, that's actually quite a good shout. The red Baby Bells or the Baby Bell lights?
Depends whether I'm on a cut or a bulk.
Good answer. Fair enough. Yeah, both good options. I often do recommend Baby Bells as a good snack. It's a good size, relatively moderate in calories.
Yeah.
Easy and inexpensive and quite portable as well. You can have it in a pocket
That's true.
for a while. So yeah, great option. This actually leads nicely to number 2, which is, what's your regular coffee order?
Usually just an oat flat white. I'm very, very basic like that.
So I start in the morning with a black coffee. I used to have oat flat whites, but I've recently read about that there's loads of sugar in them. So I'm now moving across to skimmed milk. So I have a skinny flat white now.
Okay, skinny flat white, oat flat white. Fair. Yeah. Fairly standard. Okay, in terms of your own fitnesses, your own fitness, do you track or goal your steps each day, or do you not really care?
I mean, I aim for 10,000. How close I get to 10,000 on a given day, it depends. And obviously, we're not meant to wear watches at work. Not meant.
Yeah, I'm the same. So I used to wear an Apple Watch and just get told off all the time. So I probably do 10,000 at work, but my phone is always everywhere, like in the office and stuff. So I always end up being around 10,000 at the end of the day. So yeah, I don't actually have a goal to track it, but I probably do end up paying about 10K.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the thing. I think I shared something recently where it's just looking at anything over 7,000 is you're kind of getting most of the benefits. But any more than that, also real too. But yeah, as you say, the challenges of actually be able to, if you were trying to track it, it can be a bit tricky to work depending on how much abuse you can take. So yeah, that's fair enough. Or whether you hide your Apple Watch on your ankle instead or something.
Yeah.
So
that's the fact too. People put it on their ankle, and sometimes if they've got big straps, they'll put it around the bicep.
Yeah. Okay, what's your go-to workout song or playlist or genre?
Oh, I love me some house and techno music. It varies. I will switch it up all the time. A song that I've been listening to at the moment, which is close to the top, is a remix of a Calvin Harris song by a DJ called MPH. There we are.
You guys are going to think I'm really weird, but I don't listen to music in the gym.
You don't listen to me.
Don't know. I literally no headphones and just
zone in.
It's like my thinking zone. I just overthink everything when I'm in the gym. That's all. I don't like listening to music.
Yeah. No, I can see that. Yeah. I sometimes will do that. It depends on my mood. Sometimes I'll have something that's not very lyrical, but just like a constant beat in the background, or like house stuff, or it'll be kind of 2000s rock and like Linkin Park and that kind of thing.
Nice, yeah.
Sometimes it just the music kind of ends and I'll actually I'm just going to leave it on, just nothing. I'll have my earphones in, so it's kind of blocking out the general sound, but it's, yeah, I can get that. Yeah. Whatever works for you, I think is the key point.
Yeah.
Ultimately. And it can vary so much depending on the day. Okay, cool. Is there something you've bought in the past year that you think has been like kind of game changing for you? And it could literally be anything, a subscription, a physical thing. Yeah.
From a fitness perspective, I would say, so I got a chest strap, like a chest heart rate monitor, and for running and for squash, which is what I also play, it's been a bit of a game changer, mainly because if you're recording off the wrist, I'm just so sweaty. Just like I'm reading like 90 beats per minute the entire time. I'm like blowing out my butt. So it's definitely not going at 90.
Yeah. How about you, Anuj?
I'd actually say a food subscription. So I actually moved over to things like Simmer and Thrive and all those kinds of things. That has been a game changer because it just means that even when busy with the business, busy with work, I'm not swaying into easy, cheap calories and actually eating well. So that's probably been, the biggest game changer for me over the past couple of years.
Yeah, both great shouts. I think the thing, meal prep services can just be kind of a lifesaver and a bit of an anchor in your week, and just ultimately it helps to remove or reduce the volume of decisions you have to make each day as well. It's just and when your brain's already fried from not just healthcare work, but also, business stuff as well. And also just life stuff too. Then you've got to decide, oh crap, I need to go to Tesco and decide I'm going to cook for dinner now, and that's another 45 minutes to do something with. It's just like, whereas just in the fridge, in the microwave, done. Yeah, they taste pretty good too. I think nowadays that usually kind of fairly good
Really
options.
do.
It's a job, and it's more the fact that just like the calories are like counted for you. Like you don't have to worry about like all that kind of stuff. So yeah, being a big fan of them.
Yeah, serious convenience factor for sure. And yeah, the heart rate monitors as well. It's amazing the difference or the level of accuracy you can get with a chest one versus the wrist based. Unless you're
100%.
literally like using your wrist based monitor like a tourniquet, then it can be pretty inaccurate. Yeah, it's probably not ideal for squash. So both correct shouts. Okay, near the end of the quickfire segments, what's your favorite dessert? This is the most important question.
This is a great one. I semi-often will. I quite like an ice cream. Particularly at the moment, I am loving an ice cream. Smashing it on the Ben and Jerry's is fairly commonplace. Like destroying like a 6-pack of Magnum minis as well. I eat a lot of food. I eat a serious amount of food. Anuj will test this. It's like, yeah, it's bad.
He's so lucky he's not Indian. Like honestly, he would not be able to get away with this calorie. I'd say my favorite dessert cookie dough, like going to like a dessert shop in Leicester, just getting like a Kinder Bueno cookie dough for a Roche cookie dough and just smashing that is my go-to.
Yeah, both good options.
What about you?
Everyone knows mine. Every episode I say tiramisu. So yeah, tiramisu is mine.
Awesome.
Yeah, kind of wherever if I'm ever out for dinner and there's a tiramisu on the menu, I'm going to have it. I'm going to try it. I'm building like an encyclopedia of tiramisu reviews in my head.
Nice.
I should actually put pen to paper and be like the tiramisu guide. That's what I should do.
Yeah, you should do that. You should do a tiramisu podcast as well.
Yeah.
Where you review different tiramisus.
Would actually be epic.
And just the Italians are going to be watching it and they're going to be sad.
Yeah, this is a real tangent, but in my old kind of corporate career, I was where was I? I was abroad. I don't remember where I was, but I was abroad with lots of other colleagues, some of whom were Italian, and we were at this restaurant, and they tiramisu was an option for dessert. So myself and the Italians all got the tiramisu, and the tiramisu was actually really tasty, but they'd added almost like hazelnut kind of pieces into it.
Okay, strange.
Which added like a crunch, it was very tasty, but the Italians were like genuinely offended. They almost refused to eat it. Yeah, like one spoonful, and then we're like, what is this? Like, this is not tiramisu.
This is not tiramisu.
Put a spoon down, and we're like, I'm not having it. And I was like, I'll have it. So I had theirs as well. I was like, I mean, I love tiramisu, but this is still a great dessert, so I'm going to eat it. Whereas they were genuinely offended at the desecration of tiramisu. So yeah, it's the tiramisu podcast could be a great idea.
Yeah,
I'll have to think of that. But yeah, Magnums, Ben & Jerry's, all the classics. So, I mean, we're skipping ahead now, but I have to ask you, Frankie, have you ever looked at what your sort of maintenance calories is if you're smashing an entire pack?
So, it kind of depends. So, on a given week, I would say roughly I will eat about 3,000 a day, roughly. But there are days where I eat a lot more, and it's usually based on what my like how often I'm training. So I'd say probably on average, I'm in around 3,000, 2,800. If I've got a particularly heavy week of training, then it can go up to 3,000. And I notice just when I'm tired anyway, when you're tired, you make crap decisions with food, and I do have a tendency to do that. I'm like, oh, fine, we're getting mackies today, and then behold, I've eaten like nearly 3,000 calories in like one sitting when I've done.
Yeah, it can happen. Yeah, I think when we're tired, it's hard to make good food decisions.
Yeah, 100%.
Particularly if we make those decisions like on the way home from working out or from squash, it can make it even harder to be good. Okay, and then last one. This is more of a bigger topic, but what's maybe your biggest frustration with the sort of fitness or health space at the moment? Maybe.
Ooh,
I'd say the amount of misinformation that's online. Like, so like my fiance, she was like, send me a TikTok about like cortisol and all these kinds of things. And you just see it, and it's just the amount of views and likes and followers these people have. And it's so dangerous. So that's probably my biggest frustration, how you can literally say anything you want online. And if it gets enough traction, people will believe it. Like, you don't need to provide any evidence to what you're saying. And yeah, you can spread misinformation really easily. So that's probably my biggest frustration.
Yeah. How about you, Frankie?
Yeah, probably on a similar tangent, but it's sort of the things to do with fads that sort of come up, how everyone was hopping on the carnivore diet and these sorts of things where, they're sort of quite unsubstantiated. And I mean, in terms of the carnivore diet, it's actually just terrible for you from a health perspective.
Yeah.
And probably another thing would be the amount of just in supplement companies. There's just too many supplement companies just generally. And you see, I know there was all the scandal about the Korea, I think it was the Korea-like gummies, where it's such an unregulated business. Loads of times people don't really know what they're actually getting a lot of the time, even though some of these supplements do have, a great wealth of scientific evidence behind them. If you're just getting, rubbish that's made in China and shipped over here that you don't really know what you're taking, it's just a waste of people's money.
Yeah. Yeah, I think both great topics. Yeah, when we could spend entire podcast series on both of them, so I'll try and restrain myself. But certainly the misinformation one, similarly share huge frustrations with some of the stuff I see, and often you maybe see it with kind of patients reaching into a certain state because of things they've maybe seen or read, and
100%.
I often see it from conversations that I have with people online, and often with healthcare professionals themselves who you guys aren't necessarily immune to these things on social media, and also often get taken in by them, and particularly things that, as you say, kind of cortisol coaches and cortisol related products and cortisol related courses you can now go on and all this sort of stuff. And it's just like, it's like if you were to ask the person who's selling it, like what are the markers that you're looking for in these people to tell whether their cortisol is high or not, to tell whether you've made an improvement or not, all this sort of stuff that I've absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
And it's like just another way. The other side you can sometimes see is that maybe the program they're selling to kind of fix people's cortisol just gets them moving and being physically active and maybe eating healthier. And you're like, okay, there's maybe a silver lining at least to this, but it's still just often quite depressing, some of the stuff that you see online in the misinformation space. I think it's with the way the internet is now as well, it's often harder to dispel some of the misinformation, I think, as well. It becomes more of a versus them type thing, which could be hard to kind of push through. There's a dermatologist who I know from university who she's kind of building a larger platform online, and Dr. Amy Perkins, shout out. And she recently was in the press around sunscreen and kind of talking about how we should be wearing it and this sort of thing. And there's a very large influencer with millions of followers who is very, let's say, anti-sunscreen, doesn't put any on, and has a legion of followers who also believe all kinds of myths about sunscreen and how it's toxic and much worse for you than the sun's rays are and all this kind of thing. So the friend, her then comment feed is just filled with quite hardcore
anti-sunscreen people.
And then anti other things, anti-vax, etc., all piling in, and the comments be like, oh, you can tell you're vaccinated and things like that on her. It's just, one of those moments where you're like, oh yeah, the internet is great, but also this sort of thing can come to. So frustrating. And then supplements, another massive one where, as you say, it's just so unregulated, kind of not just in the UK, but really globally. Like we could literally set up a supplement company in the next 20 minutes online. And there's companies that do it all for you as well. It's pretty much just a one-stop shop of, you buy what they're selling, they'll do all the branding, all the bottles for you. It's literally fill in a form online, and like that's it. And you can start shipping next week. But the actual quality control, all that sort of stuff is very grey. And it's commonly known as well that some that provide you with, I've seen examples where people who have the companies claim that this is their sort of certificate of quality, and actually that's just fake. It's not even real. Because it's like, well, who's checking? Who knows if it's actually tested? So unless you were able to get stuff in the post, send it to someone to test it, and get it back and verify your tub of protein is actually good quality, then how are you going to know? So it's it's interesting. But that thing that James Smith referenced, the creatine gummies and that whole space is like, it's really interesting to see if that hopefully has a more positive effect on kind of the industry, of being like someone is watching, or people are watching or trying to watch and see what's happening. But it's it is terrifying. And you just see people like, I don't know, the Liver King. I don't know if you've heard of him. But he's a great example of makes millions from selling supplements that are all tied into his kind of ancestral tenets and all this sort of
nonsense
carnivore kind of thing he does.
I think
he came out, he was on steroids.
It copies him on steroids. And actually, I won't mention any names in this, but a very large amount of the influencers you see online in the health and fitness space who are kind of claiming natural and that sort of thing, a very large number are on steroids or
like drugs of
some kind. It's very common. Ultimately, money comes into things. People are going to do what they can to look as good as they can. And you just have to, once you start to see lots of people who are on them and aren't on them, you can start quite quickly seeing, okay, actually that person maybe is or isn't. And there's nothing inherently wrong with using them or not. I have no issue with that. It's more when it's being used to mislead people and sell things off the back of it that I think is, not the best for the health and fitness space, but it's always been happening and probably always will. I think it's pretty hard to clamp down on.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, true.
Cool. So that's me off my soapbox. So sorry, everyone. But yeah, some good frustrations, which I think are shared by a lot of people in the space. I'm going to dive a bit more into you guys, actually, which would be cool for time. For each of you, I suppose, has health and fitness always been something you've been involved in kind of prior to medicine and you've carried on throughout, or it's something that came to you later in life? Yeah, what's sort of your fitness sport backstory?
Yeah. So I guess I always did sport from a young age. I think my parents were always quite encouraging. So I swam when I was very little, then did squash lessons up until I was about 16. And then when I was 16, moved to sixth form, and me and all my friends, I guess, because I don't know, didn't have anything better to do, and we were trying to impress people. We went to the gym 3 times a week, and it's something that I ended up to have just never really dropped because of that. All went to, like, we'd finish school Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we all go to a gym. And I guess through that, I ended up just always going to, I've kept that up now, even, over 10 years later. We go to the gym about 3 times a week. I picked squash back up when I went to university. I played on the squash team, both at Leicester and at Bristol, and still now play for a local team. And then I got into running and to a lesser extent cycling, just through friends and stuff like that. So yeah, I keep myself busy. It's something that makes me happy, and I probably try and train like 5 to 6 times a week. When I'm really pushing it, we have done more, but I think doing more with the lifestyle that healthcare affords is very, very hard to double train. You just have to be. It's always push and pull with these things. It's like, do I want to give up stuff with the business? Do I want to give up my social life? And having a variety is what makes me happy.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see. Yeah, so from a very early age, you've always been pretty active compared to say the average, and always just been really into it. And I suppose for you, did that mean as a consequence, in some ways you found it maybe relatively easy or kind of default to just keep doing it throughout medical school and FY years?
Yeah, I think so. I think I just have always. I'm a bit hyperactive anyway. That's why I do all the things that I do. But I think it's just, for me, that has always been a nice break, and it's something different. Particularly when you're doing sport, especially like doing squash and running. A lot of the times I run with people, or I play squash with my dad, or as part of the team. So quite a social thing. And yeah, it's just a nice break. I think it's just something that I've needed. I feel it when I'm not doing it.
Yeah, sort of the break side of things, I think often is something that's kind of removed and separate from the workspace, but gives you just kind of a mental break or mental separation from the workday for sure. And how about you, Anuj? Have you always been kind of active from a young age, or is something you've done later on? Like, what's your sort of back?
I used to play quite a lot of cricket growing up, so I probably play about 6 times a week until I was probably about 15, 16. So that was like the majority of my week. So training, games, all that kind of stuff. So there was a level of fitness that you had to kind of adhere to when you were playing for, like, I used to play for North Leicestershire and stuff. So yeah, there's like obviously a standard of fitness. Like we see the bleep test and stuff, like all of those kinds of things. And then I then gave up cricket when I was about 16 and then got more into the gym probably in sixth form. My issue was that I wasn't able to balance it that well with exams, and that was the same through med school. So I'd be good from September to maybe April, and then exam season would hit and I'd go into a hole and basically just not gym and not exercise and then pick it back up. So I was always in and out of the gym from that side of things. I'd probably say at the minute is the most consistent I've been since probably sixth form with my health and fitness in terms of exercising regularly, eating better, all those kinds of things. And we actually picked up badminton I played badminton like growing up, and me and Frankie played for a bit.
Here it is. Yeah.
I did one of my ligaments in my knees, so then I've not got back into that. So I do want to pick up some more sport, but again, nothing crazy since university, mostly just gym.
Yeah. But I think that thing is interesting to see that difference between the two of you in terms of just how you managed it throughout time. It's not so to be like, Anuj, you suck. It's more just to be like, it's for some people they find it that's the thing I often see. So for some people, they find it quite easy, or for them, it's just their default to kind of put that on a similar pedestal in some ways, or it's just something that's always embedded in their week in a way, and just keep doing physical exercise. Whereas for other people, it's like they really enjoy doing it and do prioritize it most of the time. But then as we get to exams or other busy parts of life, then that can take a hit. And that's also totally normal and often what's needed for some people as well, because actually they find it more stressful trying to maintain fitness stuff around exam time and work and everything else in life. But it's interesting to see that kind of split between the two of you. I suppose, Anuj, for you, when let's say exams come up, how do you, I suppose, get back on the bandwagon? Or is just sort of, is it just exams finish and then you feel like you've got the space and bandwidth to get back to exercise? Or how do you get back?
Yeah, so I don't struggle from a motivation perspective. So as soon as exams are finished and I'm free, I'm not like, oh, I don't want to go. I actually do want to go, because you feel grotty, like you've been in a room, like, revising 8 hours a day, not been eating the best as you were before. From that side, it's not like a case of like I feel lazy to go. Usually when the exams are done, I'd be straight back into the gym and be back into it. But I'd always leave my revision very last minute. So then I'd go into a bit of a hole for like the last month, to 6 weeks of med school. But obviously now, because I'm not sitting exams, it's a lot easier. And I've, found, like you said, how you mentioned, like some people are just able to embed it into their routine. That's kind of how I've become now. It's not like an optional thing now. It's like I go 3 times a week and that's without fail kind of thing. So the mindset shift has helped.
Yes, mindset shift, that's the thing, isn't it? And I think sometimes when I speak to people, they'll say, oh, like I need to make it a consistent part of my routine. I need to make it my default. It's like, yes, but they so often expect it to happen overnight, and it's not really an overnight thing. It takes just time and practice for that to become a normal part of your psyche, to just do it three times a week or whatever it might be. We didn't just suddenly be born and be like, right, that's it. I'm a 5 time a weeker person, and that's always going to be the way. It's probably because, like for me, similarly to yourselves, like I grew up being very physically active, but always enjoyed it. It's how I've kind of relaxed, was doing physical exercise. And certainly for me, rugby was the sport. And so maybe playing it 5-6 days a week, easily, sometimes 7. And so it just became normal for me to just fit everything else kind of around it and just maintain it, I suppose, as well. So, makes sense. Okay. And how about the nutrition side of things? Have you always felt like you've been on top of your nutrition, or do you feel like that's something that's improved over the past few years? What's your nutrition kind of like?
So
apart from the 6 magnums,
I guess most of the time I'm very happy eating the same things most days, which means for me it's quite easy in that sort of sense. So I mean, a typical day I will have 250 grams of fire yogurt with kefir, nuts and fruit in the morning. I will have maybe a banana mid-morning. I will have eggs on toast or just eggs and avocado, depending like what sort of a day it is and if I feel I need carbs later in the day. And then the evening, usually I just sort of freestyle it, and it'll be like, okay, probably have about 1,000 calories left over. Let's just have whatever I want to eat, sort of thing. So for me, I guess I'm quite lucky in the sense that I'm quite happy in the same thing. I don't need things to be super exciting. I have, similar to Anuj, in the past done Thrive and done Simmer and stuff. But what I would say is that if you have the time to cook, then it saves you a lot of money. And I'm lucky now that I'm employed by the university and I work at home a lot of the time, so I do have a bit more time to cook. But I did, when I was working a lot in the hospital, I was using Simmer and Thrive a lot more, particularly just for my lunchtime meals, and then I maybe cook in the evening.
Okay, yeah. That's, you can answer my follow up there, which is going to be comparing it to maybe FY years.
But
I think Thrive and the other meal prep can be a great option. How about you, Anuj? Have you? How's your nutrition?
Unlike Frankie, like I actually can't eat like that much volume, in the sense that, so I never really overeat from that side. Like what I can pick at and stuff is different, but I can't eat probably like more than like 2,500 calories. Like it's just impossible for me to stomach that. So I've never struggled with like overeating from that side. From a nutrition perspective, when I was at uni and I started to get quite into the gym, I started counting calories a lot. So I used MyFitnessPal, and I don't count calories anymore, but that's just really helped understand like what's in food. So I can look at a plate of food now and then know roughly how many calories are in it, how much protein's in it. So it's just really helped my understanding from that side. So yeah, my typical morning, I'm like Frankie, I'm not here to like have like some gourmet three-course meal. I'm happy eating similar stuff. So I'll have like a protein smoothie in the morning. So loads of frozen fruit, oats, berries, all that kind of stuff. And then I'll have either simmer or fry for lunch. Mid-afternoon, probably like a Baby Bell, then dinner again, simmer or fried, and then I'll have some yogurt and granola before bed. That's probably me done. So probably eating about 18 or 1900 calories a day. And it works for me because then at the weekend I tend to be out like with my mates or seeing my fiance. So my calories are a bit all over the place then. So I like to keep Monday to Friday relatively okay. So then I don't feel as guilty at the weekend if I do have or something like that.
Yeah. I think both good approaches. I often say to people, it's kind of excelling in the boring, or can be a great way to kind of make nutrition a bit easier. In that, just if you're someone who can tolerate having similar things for breakfast or similar things for lunch on a regular basis, whether that's 5 days a week or the entire week or whatever that structure is, having it just helps simplify your entire kind of nutritional system. And on average, that means it kind of just makes life easy. I think as well, you touched on these there. You've used MyFitnessPal before and that kind of calorie counting side of things. Even if people just calorie count just as an exercise, just kind of benchmark their kind of current calories and just getting that kind of understanding that you touched on there, I think it's so beneficial for people. Even though just do it once, like one day, just try using MyFitnessPal or one of the many other apps out there like Chronometer and others, just so you can, as you say, kind of get an understanding of, oh, actually, I know what 1,500 or 1,800 or 2,000 calories looks like from an actual real life perspective, because it just, the education, it helps you just be able to have a better idea. I often speak to people who they think they're maybe eating 1,600 calories a day, but actually when I've either asked them to Food Journal or I've looked at what they're actually eating, and it's well into the 2,000s, they just never tracked, just never quite realized actually their portion sizes are a lot bigger than maybe what they need. It can be really useful to have either do some calorie tracking or have someone who's a nutritionist or has experience in nutrition to have a look at what you're eating. It can really help just have a fresh set of eyes, as we all can tell ourselves lies and tell ourselves what we want to hear when it comes to food, for sure. I don't know whether you do this for your fiance, Anuj, but certainly portion sizes from partners can sometimes be a challenge that I have to work with people on. Typically, the male partner can be the one who's often providing maybe much larger portions to their to like a female partner sometimes than the female partner maybe actually wants.
No, I can see that. Do you know the funny thing is that, my fiance doesn't eat a lot, but she's from a different culture. So she's Punjabi and I'm Gujarati, and generally Punjabis diets are a lot bigger. So when I go to their like family's house, like they're covering stuff in butter and ghee, and like I'm just like, oh my god, like I'm a doctor, don't do that. And like it's literally like you're eating like crazy amount of calories when you go over to the in-laws' house. So from that side, no, I think we're both we eat quite similar amounts actually. She probably eats less than me, but my appetite, like I said, isn't massive. So our portion sizes are quite similar for me. So.
Yeah. That's handy. Okay, brilliant. I suppose for going forward, are either you working on any kind of particular goals from a fitness or body composition or nutrition perspective? Is there I know you mentioned kind of bulking and cutting earlier, Anuj, but Frankie.
So we are going to Las Vegas next month from so we have basically been trying to diet as much as we're able to, but I think it's I've got a wedding next year, so I'm just trying to stay in relatively decent shape. I'm not trying to get like a chiseled six-pack because it's just not realistic, but it's just in the sense that I've got a goal to look forward to, which always helps me with like the gym side of things and the food side of things. So I'm aiming towards my wedding in June next year, just to be in like a good shape where if someone rips my top off, I feel comfortable about it.
You'll be ready in case that happens.
Yeah,
exactly.
How
about you, Frankie?
So I've had a couple of niggling injuries, but I would love to do a marathon at some point, just because everyone's doing a marathon. That's what you see if you're on Instagram, and I hope I could do one. But I've been injured for, I would say, about 4 or so months now, with a bit of patellar tendonitis and then a sort of niggling left hip injury. So I've been seeing physio and stuff, and I have basically been told to stop running as much and stop playing as much squash. And it's been a lot of leg days. I basically do leg day 2 or 3 times a week, and then squeeze in whatever else I can. I've never, past a certain age, I kind of got a bit over the whole cutting and bulking thing. I want to say I've just kind of done my exercise and kept my calories consistent. My weight has pretty much been between 75 and 80 kilos consistently for the last 10 years. So I never really end up getting much bigger, never really end up getting much smaller. But every now and then, maybe if I have particular things coming up, I'll slightly change things. But I haven't changed anything at the moment for Vegas. Maybe we'll go on a rapid crash diet, a juice cleanse or something. I
We'll go
probably need a juice
full
cleanse
carnivore.
after it.
Cortisol supplements, isn't it, Frank?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're going to go full carnivore, all the cortisol supplements.
Yeah.
And you'll be ready for Vegas for sure. Okay, yeah, it's interesting to see just kind of how people, what goals they have and how they're pushing towards it. And we've kind of already covered it, I suppose, to some extent of how you manage your nutrition around work, and it kind of then tailors into your goals anyway. But yeah, I think it's interesting to see, like for Frankie, for you, it's sort of there's not a particular body composition goal, or there's not a body composition goal that you care so much about that you're going to drastically change your diet for at the moment. It seems it's more like a functional nutrition that just keeps you fueled for all the sport you do and for work. And for now, that's does the job, and you can eat a 6-pack of Magnums or a tub of Ben & Jerry's, and it works out okay.
It works out,
which is fine. I think if you're active enough, you can kind of get away with that for now. Yeah, for you Anuj, it's much more a case of like similar. Really, you're kind of tiding over for now, and then yeah, potentially next year you'll look at then pushing things further towards wedding if you want to. So you can be ready for the testosterone ripping off your top. That's going to be a thing now for your wedding. You've said it. But okay, bro. Yeah, I think it's interesting to see how you're managing it. I think one thing that you guys, I suppose, have that often a lot of healthcare professionals don't have is you both are quite into the gym already, or like you have a good amount of gym and sports experience. I suppose the terms we're kind of using, you're already you understand them. Whereas actually quite often people who are listening to this or who are in healthcare, the terms cut and bulk, they'd be like, what does that mean? Or it's kind of maybe not tainted, but it's more aligned to sort of, when they think of that, they think of like hardcore diets and bodybuilding and that sort of world more so. When in reality, it's just a calorie surplus or a calorie deficit, and ways you can do that. But yeah, it's interesting to see how. But what is good to see is you're healthcare professionals, but you also have a good understanding of the sort of fitness and your own kind of nutrition as well, which actually you may or may not be surprised, but actually a lot of healthcare professionals don't have a huge understanding of.
I was going to say that because all the research has come from my own research, not from anything that we learned really at medical school. Like it's all been watched YouTube videos and reading online rather than actually what we're taught. So which is quite surprising considering like we're giving health advice to people, but we don't really understand calories. We don't understand macronutrients, micronutrients, etc.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I wonder whether it's something that maybe with the NHS 10-year plan and a more push towards slightly more preventative and that side of things, maybe there'll be more of that and then going through medical schools. Who knows? It might be another 10 years till that becomes
fruition. Yeah,
they're both shaking their heads for people who are listening and not watching. So yeah, we'll see. But I mean, there's only so much you can also take in at medical school as well.
I think it's just our universal lack in faith of government to deliver. Oh my God, I'm throwing stuff on the floor in my anger.
Yes, and that too. Yeah, we'll see. That's an even bigger topic. That's another whole podcast series in itself. We get into that. So yeah, that makes sense. Okay, what would be cool to hear, I suppose, is with PAX, a question I had is, are you going to be? You've got a couple of lines at the moment from a clothing perspective. You sent me one, which I will be wearing for the ultra marathon and for future events as well. So thank you very much for that. But yeah, it'd be good to get what kind of lines you have at the moment. Tell us more about the kind of the PAX products.
Frank, do you want to go?
I'll let you go there.
Yeah, so I think we initially started with our first line of products, which was our Primus line, basically. Now, one of the things that I guess we didn't consider, I think it was actually Moise and Frankie initially. So Moise is really tall, and most of our girl mates that we're friends with are quite slim as well. So I think we tailored the sizing to the people that we knew, not thinking of like mass market. So then I think completely basically cocked up the sizing like from the side. They were too long, they were too tight on the hips for women, and like it was just not a disaster, but it was a bit of a mistake from that side. But then I think we learned a lot. Obviously we'd never done a clothing industry before. developed our sizing, made it more universal, so then everyone's more comfortable. And yeah, we launched our Sequi line, which is our so the top that we sent you, if you get the bottoms, that would be the Sequi line basically. And it's just basically more comfortable, still a tailored and slim fit. And then yeah, we're just trialing different stuff. So we've trialed different colors. We've actually about to launch a jogger style, which is more like cropped at the bottom and slimmer style. A lot of people have been asking for that. So we've delivered on that. And then yeah, we're just kind of listening to our customers and tailoring the product and offering new lines and colors based on that. We haven't got like a strict plan, but I think we are now getting to a point where I think especially over 2026, we're going to actually have like a set plan in place about our product development. And we've even had chats about, should we, do any pivots into activewear and stuff like that?
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Was like activewear for healthcare professionals.
Yeah, I mean, we did talk about this actually. Do you remember, Frank? We were saying
we spoke about this multiple times. That's mainly for my own selfish reason because I'm running out of gym clothes. But it would be a lot of fun to do. But I mean, niching down to the healthcare professional market would be a good niche to have. But it's how big that market necessarily would be for activewear and what can we offer that's necessarily different. If we build enough big enough brands, that'd be maybe when that conversation happens. But although I would like to say we're up and coming, I wouldn't say we're quite there yet. Where we're going to be cutting through the noise, and especially in that space, which is very, very saturated.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, but it's one where trying to niche to any demographic, let alone health professionals, is kind of like it can make sense we can tell ourselves it kind of makes sense from like we're the healthcare brand. Health professionals will choose us, but it's like, but why would they choose you when they could also choose Gymshark or Lululemon or or whatever else? Like, there's so many other things out there which also appeal to other parts of them as a person, rather than just them only being a healthcare professional. So it's kind of seeing, it's always interesting. I do love that you sell a water bottle. I'm a big advocate for health professionals actually carrying a water bottle with them when they're allowed to.
I should have sent you one, Tom. Sorry. I forgot.
Oh no, don't worry. I mean, they are huge, the ones you sell, so they wouldn't be the best for an ultramarathon. So.
Yeah. What do you mean?
I probably wouldn't take it with me just because it would weigh quite a lot.
You can put it on the running back.
So I could swap it out for my Camelback and have that instead. That might do the job. But yeah, you also have water bottles, which is cool. Encouraging hydration is always the way.
Important.
It's I know how you guys find it, but certainly I find a lot of health professionals are like almost chronically dehydrated. Work a lot of the time.
It's so bad. I think the problem is just even if you have it on your desk next to you, you're just always nipping in and out. The first half of the day, especially as a doctor, is a ward round, so you're probably on your feet for 4 hours, nowhere near your water bottle, and you can't exactly just nip out and go have a drink. So that takes you to lunch, and you haven't drunk anything since breakfast, when you might have, if you're lucky, had a glass of water with your coffee, or you might just have gulped your coffee down and ran to work. So then you've worked max about like 300 mils of fluid in the morning, which is terrible.
Yeah.
I think I've got to the point now though, like I just prioritize it. I'll literally say to the consultant that, look, I'm just popping to get some water like mid-ward round, because it was getting to the point where I was getting to 1 o'clock in the afternoon and I've not had a drop of water since 7 a.m. And it's like, you can feel it in your mouth and stuff. So I'm just like, now I make a point about 10 o'clock. I'm just like, look, I'm just going to go for some water, gulp down 500 mils and then get back on the water.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's, kudos to you for like kind of putting yourself out there and actually doing that, because I think a lot of people wouldn't feel able to do so and tell the consultant like, oh, actually, hold on a minute, I'm gonna go hydrate. But actually, like if we think about it from a performance perspective, like think big picture, actually, if you've only had 300 ml of water today, or you've had an espresso at breakfast and that's it, and it's 1 o'clock, performance athletes or people playing sport, we know their mental and physical performance drops when they're dehydrated. You guys are no different, and actually you're often making even more stressful and critical decisions when you're dehydrated. It's like, actually, maybe we should all be encouraging our healthcare professionals to be as hydrated and well fueled as possible, and not just running on White Monster and and biscuits.
Don't say White Monster around me. I do love me a White Monster.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with a White Monster. I'll put my thumb out there and say that. Like, I have no issue with energy drinks, but it's just, yeah, if that's our sole source of hydration an entire day, I'd prefer that my health professional is like hydrated and feeling good and on the ball when they're, dealing with me or a family member, if possible. But obviously that's an ideal world. Yeah, I always wonder, like, is there a way that kind of healthcare teams or departments can embed kind of more well-being in their ways of working day to day? Is it like that we at a certain time on the ward, it's like, right, 11 a.m. is the water round time that every member of staff drinks 500 ml of water, stupid stuff like that. But actually, is that a real solution? I don't know.
Well, we had that thing, didn't we, Frankie? So at the hospital that we were working at in Kettering, they had that tea and coffee round. So I guess it'd be a similar concept, but just with water. So like they used to have like the volunteers that went around with tea and coffee, like, and offered free tea and coffee to people, which was quite nice. But I guess they could do the same thing with water, and I don't see why they couldn't, to be honest.
Yeah, just another thing is just sort of thinking like, you obviously can have all those ideas, but it relies on ultimately people being able to sort of suggest them or be able to put them in action in their part of healthcare. But it's like, if you're a senior member in your department listening to this, it's like, actually, is there something you could do to help improve not just the health of yourself, but also of all your colleagues? And is it something systematic like a water round or some water and electrolytes that get sent around everyone or whatever it might be? But just something that just helps a little bit with, your own performance. Because sort of like, if you were in a sports team, if you're a professional football player or rugby player, it'd be pretty much unacceptable if you were allowed to keep going whilst you were dehydrated and everything else. It's like, why do we why do we allow that to happen to people looking after each other's lives? Seems like an area we could definitely improve on. Yeah. If you could give yourselves one piece of advice on health or fitness, what would it be?
Can I split it into two?
Yeah, there's no rules.
Join a gym close to you and get your food prepped for you, and that will make your life a lot easier. That is what I've learned. Honestly, my gym's 2 minutes away, and like I mentioned about the meal prepping, that has changed the game for me with my consistency with the gyms.
Yeah, ease of access and ease of food, ease of nutrition. Like, ultimately, the lower we can make the boundaries to those things, the easier and more likely we are to do them. It's super simple and super obvious, but often we kind of don't see the wood for the trees.
Yeah.
It's much easier to buy cortisol supplements and think they're going to do something than actually just signing up to a gym that's nearby and doing food prep. That's the thing that's probably going to help you the most. It's the basics that we do well. So yeah, I love those two. How about you, Frankie?
So probably something that I do need to do more, which I'm always not very good at, is just rest a bit more. I am so terrible for being like, oh, well, like I'm only trained like 4 times a week, and then maybe I'll just like get up at 6 and go to the gym before work this time. But I think actually a lot of the time, it comes back to your point, which is basically fundamentally about consistency and what can you deliver repetitively over time. If realistically the improvements that I will make at the gym going to that one session versus sleeping aren't really going to make much of a difference, and actually it's about the cumulative effect of what you can do over multiple weeks that really makes the difference in terms of keeping you fit and healthy. And probably I need to be a bit better sometimes at saying just having a bit more rest. Yeah,
rest days are important. It's good to always think about them as being a core part of your training rather than a non-training day in a way. Someone else kind of shared this with me in the past, a coach, and I often share it with other people, of sort of making like a rest day scorecard almost, where you can kind of gamify your rest days so you still feel like you're being productive from a health, fitness, nutrition side of things. So whether that's you go for a walk and that gives you 10 points and you try and get to 50 or 100, you set the points in the scale, but it's like certain things that you feel are going to be good for you. So whether it's meal prep or having a nap or drinking 2.5 liters of water in that day or having some electrolytes or whatever it might be, doing a yoga session, something that's not going to necessarily be a heavy piece of workout, but is helping your health and general well-being. It might be nothing physically active. It might be you just go and do something you love doing and enjoy that gives you a proper mental break from the week and actually is kind of truly restful for you. But yeah, kind of trying to gamify your day off can be a good way. Do either of you find it hard to relax on your days off?
We don't really have days off. Honestly, I think with the business, not really. Like, I can't remember the last day that like me and Frankie even haven't just had like one message, just something small about the business. I feel like it's always just there. I can't remember the last time that I fully like switched off completely.
Yeah, and that's often one of the challenges of running a business as well. Is just that you're never necessarily off the clock. And yeah, the boundaries of the 9 till 5, I mean, don't really exist for
They
most
don't
healthcare professionals,
exist.
but they really don't exist for business owners. Like someone was saying to me, "Oh no, I can't do something next Monday because it's a bank holiday," and I was like, "Oh, is it? I have no idea. I don't track bank holidays. They don't exist to me because I run my own business and I work when I need to work, and that might be Sunday evenings or whatever. It's just what happens." So I think, at least for me, what I try and do is I try and just prioritize that each week I do a thing that's truly like enjoyable or fun or restful for me. And that's sort of my time off, I suppose, than necessarily just sitting and watching TV or something on the sofa. Because for me, that's not actually very restful. I actually just sit there and probably get stressed that I'm not doing something, or I feel like I should be doing something else. I find it hard to sit down. So actually going and doing a workout or playing some PC or going for a ride on a motorcycle or surfing or whatever it might be, those things for me are actually generally restful rather than just what often we default to, which is like sitting on the sofa on Netflix, but also kind of on our phone at the same time and not really switching off, which we can all be guilty of. But it's, I encourage people to try and find what's like actually restful for them, particularly when you're running a business, because it's hard to otherwise ever get actual sort of mental time away from, the business in a way.
100%.
Cool. Alrighty. So, I'll round us off there, but before we go, what's the best way to kind of for people to find PAX or yourselves online? Where should they find and follow you?
Yeah, so our Instagram handle is quite simple. It's just like @ and then PAX Scrubs. So you can follow us on there. And I think our TikTok is the same. Is it, Frankie?
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, TikTok's the same. And then our website is www.paxscrubs.com. So you can pick up some scripts there if you fancy. And if you just want to see more about the nitty-gritty of us running a business, being a bit tooth and cheek about the work that we do, then follow us on Instagram.
Sounds brilliant. And for people listening, I definitely encourage you to follow them. It's a good, honest insight into the real life of being entrepreneurs, but also being healthcare professionals and also trying to have a normal life outside of it too. It's kind of the very similar to myself, kind of anti-hustle grind culture that often gets pushed around businesses, and it's just like a good real life example of what running a business is like. So well, thank you both so much for joining me, and thank you also personally for sponsoring the next ultra marathon that I'm doing in October. So that'll be 100 miles of pure fun. I'll be wearing a PAX scrub top throughout the route, which should be real. Raising money for a couple of healthcare worker charities, UAK Doc, Vet Life, the Dentist Health Support Trust, and the Canberra Trust too. So the links will be in the description for the podcast as well if you'd like to donate. And thank you again to PAX for sponsoring. I'll leave it there, but thanks so much for joining, guys. And we definitely should have a part 2. We've got some large topics to talk about, which we didn't even touch on today. So looking forward to it. But thanks so much again.
Thank you so much for having us.
Appreciate it.
Amazing.
No worries, guys. All right, speak soon. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.